Hello again and welcome to another episode of I Want to Talk About This Album. And today I'm going to talk about a live album. I think it's been quite a while since I've talked about a live album, and I'm not sure how many I've talked about. At least Kiss Alive 1 and 2 and Iron Maiden Live After Death and Scorpions Worldwide Live, although I think I did Scorpions Worldwide Live when this series, I Want to Talk About This Album, was branded as I love this album. But other than that, I haven't talked about too many live albums. But I will tell you, there are 5 more live albums coming up after this one, and I would say 4 of them are considered classics. One, I think Mike Pratt is going to like the other one. It's not that it's bad, I just don't think it's considered a classic like the other 4 that I'm going to talk about. And this one today, Black Sabbath, Past Lives, I don't think this one is or should be considered a classic. It's a great album to some extent. I'll get into that a little bit in a few minutes. This is not considered a classic live album like some of these other ones I'm going to talk about and some of the ones I've talked about before. And, well, getting to that now, specifically, I think the reason for this, and I have kind of a, I don't know if it's too strong to say a love-hate relationship. I'll put this here. A love-hate relationship with this album. It's not strong enough for love and it's not strong enough for hate. But I have maybe mixed feelings is the way that I could describe the way that I think about this album. What I like, I would even say what I really love about this album is it's clearly, unlike some of these other live albums that I have coming up and maybe some of the ones I've talked about in the past, this is clearly live. I mean, I think it's fairly obvious that there was no doctoring or sweetening, whatever you call it, going into the studio, redoing things. I think the only maybe fake aspect of Past Lives by Black Sabbath is that, you know, because this was taken from, well, I'll get into that second part, what I don't like about this album. There are some parts where you could tell that they kind of mix the crowd noise, I think, from one show, kind of transitioning to another show. So I think this is a true live album. It sounds great, and there are some mistakes you can hear on at least 3 or 4 songs. Ozzy's voice cracks. I don't think there's any mistakes musically, but and you know, sometimes there's always been a debate among rock and metal fans as to whether a live album should be really live or touched up, and you could use Kiss Alive as an example. And people say, well, I don't care if it's touched up at all. I just want an album that sounds good. And other people say, no, I don't want it, touched up live. I don't want it touched up. I want it to remain live how it really was. I don't know. I love Kiss Alive. It's probably my favorite album ever that I've ever heard in my life. And it was obviously doctored. No one really knows to what extent, and then there are other ones like this one that are not doctored and they still sound good. And I'm rambling. But that's what I like about this album. It is really live. The songs are all played great. They sound really good. And unlike, again, with Kiss, with Kiss Alive, everything goes back to Kiss Alive. With Kiss Alive, I've made this very clear. Every single song, all 16 songs on Kiss Alive, I like those versions better than the albums that the original versions appear on. Did I say that correctly? I think you know what I mean. These ones, I can't say that I like them better or that I don't like them as much as the studio versions. There's not that much difference. I think they mainly play them at the same tempo. Some bands play songs faster. In later Black Sabbath era, like the last live album they did, which was the Farewell from the Farewell tour in 2016, whenever that was. And the one before that, Gathered in Their Masses, they played quite a bit slower, especially Snowblind. I think Into the Void was quite slow. But back then, Black Sabbath was playing the songs pretty much as they were on the record. Yeah, so I do like that. Now, what I don't like about this album is, for me, whether it's a real live album like this one is, or whether it's doctored up like Kiss Alive and some others, I like a live album that is it's stupid to say this, but a snapshot of a show. It should be like a memory of a show. It should be the audible, is that the right word? Audible equivalent of, remember you used to buy these big tour programs? They were like this tall and this wide, and they're this thick, heavy, glossy paper, and they were about 15 pages, but they were very expensive. To me, a live album should be like that, but something that you can listen to instead of look at. And this album was taken from, at least, I listened to it today. I'm not overly familiar with it. I've listened to it a few times over the years. And by the way, I do have it on, and I had it on CD way back when. There it is. And it's a double album, and it was a double CD. I think there's no difference in the track listing. Let me see, 3, 6, 9, 12, 15, 18 tracks, and I'm getting off track here. I'm like Donald Trump. I can't complete a thought. 18 and 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17. Yeah, they're both 18 songs, so no difference. But this was taken from at least 3 different shows, and you can kind of so they're all different sound quality and different the volume of the crowd, or I mean the size of the crowd is pretty noticeable too, and it doesn't have a flow for me like a live album should. It's not like it should be. This was the first song they played, and this was the set list, and that was the complete show. This is not a complete show. This was taken from shows at least. There are a couple of songs from this one that are from Paranoid, because I think Ozzy introduced them from being this is from our new album, and then they did, a song from Paranoid, and other songs that he says, here's from our new album that's not out yet, and then they played songs from Sabotage. So these were taken from, and then maybe there's something in the middle, I'm not sure. I'll maybe see inside the liner notes. I'm not overly familiar with Black Sabbath's, discography. I love, those first 6. You could even say 8 if you include the last 2 Ozzy albums, Technical Ecstasy and Never Say Die. I love those albums. Love them, love them, love them. I did a video on them, comparing them with the first 6 Black Sabbath, the first 6 Van Halen, the first 6 Kiss. I did a video of that 6 months ago or something, if you would like to go check that out. But this doesn't have the flow of a live album. It's taken in sections. It's culled from different shows. But it is good. And I guess I can open it now. I guess that's all I have to say about it. Overall, I do like it. I think it is a good album. It's just a little bit odd it's like a collection of live songs. And I'll do this when I go through the track by track. So I'll open it up now and see what's inside. I can't remember what was in the CD as far as let me see what's in the CD. I haven't looked at this for years. And the first record was taken from, I'm getting off track. The first record, which I guess was the first disc on this, was taken from, they had an album called Live at Last, which I think was an unofficial album. They came out in the 90s maybe, and I think Black Sabbath didn't have the rights to it. I guess they bought the rights from it and then released that record, which was a single record, was the first disc of Past Lives. I hope you understand what I'm saying. So this has, all right, it looks like a bunch of pictures. That's 2, 4, 6 pages. Okay, here it does have the where the shows were taken from. So I assume, and it's got some photos here. I guess the record is going to be the same, and just some liner notes here. And here. So I guess the record is going to be the same. I think I can kind of tell which songs were from which shows. No hype sticker on this, and there's the back. So I can open this up haphazardly, and I can put that right there. I've never seen the it's a gatefold, as you can tell. You will be the first one to see it, even before me. I guess it's taken from a picture from the same as the CD. I don't know what it is. There it is. Is it beautiful? Is it nice? Oh, okay. Oh, so so it looks like it's the liner notes. They've compressed it into one side of the gatefold. And okay, here are the credits that. I guess this came out in 2016. Oh, it looks like this one doesn't say what shows each songs are from. Each song is from the CD setup. Maybe I'll have to reference the CD. And let me take a look at the inside the sleeves. Let's see. There it is. And there it is. And the record itself. Same label as the other Black Sabbath records that I did. And just a second. This is when I should do these little cuts that everybody does. There. And there. And same. It's going to be. All right. So going through this track by track, the first song. What is the first song? Oh, it's Tomorrow's Dream. Now I think, as far as I know, the first probably 5 songs are probably from one show, which is Tomorrow's Dream, Sweet Leaf, Killing Yourself to Live, Cornucopia, and Snowblind. I have a feeling there, and maybe Children of the Grave, maybe the first 6 are maybe from the same show. I'm not sure. But going through this Tomorrow's Dream, kind of a strange opener. If they actually did open, I mean, it's the album opener, Tomorrow's Dream. I don't know if it actually opened the show that this was taken from. I don't know if they were using Tomorrow's Dream as an opener back then. It's on originally on Volume 4. I love Volume 4. I love all those first 6 Black Sabbath albums. But Tomorrow's Dream, for me, kind of a little bit of a strange opener. And now one more thing I should add about Black Sabbath as a live band. They play well. They play great. As I said, they sound really good. But I don't think they ever had a reputation as being like this live band that you got to see, aside from the fact that they're Black Sabbath. They didn't have the theatrics of Kiss or Alice Cooper or anything like that. They didn't have the energy of Scorpions or Van Halen or I don't know, even Rat or anything like that. They played well, and that was it. And I think their shows were pretty short. When I've seen Ozzy solo live, he played, the first time I saw him was Bark the Moon. I think he only did 13 songs. So Black Sabbath didn't have a reputation as a great live band, which is maybe why they never released. I know they did Live Evil with Dio, but never released a proper live album until this. So Tomorrow's Dream, for me, a little bit of a strange opener, but I do love Tomorrow's Dream. I'm Leaving Tomorrow at Daybreak. That's a great song. Next is Sweet Leaf. There's no coughing intro on this. They just go right into it. And you notice Ozzy in Black Sabbath back then, and I guess even in recent years, he always refers to songs as numbers. Here's a number now from the whatever album, and here this next number is blah blah blah. Just something I noticed. And something else that's really, I like this. It's a small thing about Black Sabbath. I feel like it's not every song on this album, but almost every song starts with a little bit of feedback. It's almost like you can hear Tony Iommi turning to, he maybe has his volume turned down when Ozzy is speaking or between songs, and then he turns the volume up and he gets just a half a second of feedback, and then they go into the song. Next is Killing Yourself to Live. I love that song, man, from Sabbath Bloody Sabbath. And I love Sabbath Bloody Sabbath. And again, I'm not a real Black Sabbath setlist guy, but I don't know how long, I don't know if they only did Killing Yourself to Live on the Sabbath Bloody Sabbath tour. They definitely didn't do it in recent years. Maybe it's too difficult for Ozzy to sing. But Killing Yourself to Live is an amazing, great Sabbath song. Next is Cornucopia, maybe, and I'm talking more about the songs rather than the specific versions of the songs on this album, except for maybe one or two. Cornucopia is maybe the heaviest Black Sabbath album, at least the intro. That, and I know that doesn't sound heavy, it sounds pretty stupid actually, but that's heavy stuff, Cornucopia. Next is, and from Volume 4. This was heavy on Volume 4. Three of the first 5 are from Volume 4. Cornucopia. Next is a number from the Volume 4 album called Snowblind. Cocaine! I love that one, and that was one that they did really slow when I saw them in the last couple of tours. In I think it was 2013 I saw them, in 2016. They played Snowblind very slow. And I guess tuned down too. The last song, this would be the last song on record 1, side 1, is Children of the Grave. This does include, it's not listed on here, but they do have the little intro, which is Embryo, which was from Master of Reality. And that always bugged me. I talked about this when I talked about Master of Reality and the first record and Volume 4 that they had, and even Paranoid. They had these weird kind of they gave separate song titles to the intros, which I never liked. Or the outros, Wheels of Confusion slash The Straightener, War Pigs slash Luke's Wall, or was it Luke's Wall slash War Pigs? I guess it was Luke's Wall slash War Pigs. What else was there? A bit of Finger, Wasp, whatever that was. Now Embryo was listed as a separate track. It didn't have the slash, but they do play it. Just a little intro into Children of the Grave, and Children of the Grave is a great song. Side 2, the opening song of record 1, side 2 is War Pigs, which, as I talked about, I guess I did, and I hope I did when I talked about Paranoid. War Pigs for me is maybe like the what should be considered the benchmark, the gold standard, the quintessential, the dictionary definition of a heavy metal song. It's one of my favorite songs ever. It's which I guess by default would be my, is it default or default? I think by default. By default would make it my favorite Black Sabbath song, and I have a hard time, arguing against that. I guess my other ones are Wheels of Confusion, the one I just mentioned. What else do I really like? The Black Sabbath, the song Black Sabbath, Into the Void, maybe. Those are my top Black Sabbath songs. But War Pigs, I'm not sure if I ever did get tired of it. At some point, I probably did. But in more recent years, I just can't get enough of War Pigs. I think maybe through the 80s and 90s and maybe even later, I only listened to War Pigs by, not by choice. If it was on at a bar, at somebody's house, at a party, somebody driving by in their car, a hockey game, whatever, I listen to War Pigs. But I listen to War Pigs now by choice because I love it. And Faith No More did a great version of War Pigs. War Pigs, that is Black Sabbath, and that is heavy metal. Should be considered, for me, I think, the greatest example of what heavy metal is. War Pigs. Next is Wicked World. Now, the version on this one is it's 18 or 19 minutes. And in the middle of it, it's got a really long kind of, a little bit of a medley and an extended, kind of a jazzy, I think it goes through the song as it does on the record. And then after, whatever it is, 4, 5, 6 minutes, they have this kind of I feel it's like a jazzy kind of jam thing, and then into a little bit of just the opening of Into the Void, which I just mentioned is one of my favorite Black Sabbath songs. And then there's some weird song that I can't remember what it's called. I'm sure Black Sabbath, unlike me, a poser Black Sabbath fan, real Black Sabbath fans would know what it's called. I know it has a title, but it was a song I think that was never released. I don't know if it was ever recorded properly other than live. I don't know if it was ever recorded in a studio, but then it goes into that. It's kind of a weird, kind of a mellow, quiet, not really a typical Black Sabbath song, whatever it's called. And then the first, I guess through the first verse of Supernaut, I've heard somebody call that song Supernow or Supernout. I have no idea why. But yeah, Wicked World, and then it goes back into Wicked World. Wicked World, I like this version much better than the studio version on the first Black Sabbath record. And then this closes with Paranoid, which I don't know if back then, so I would guess that these 3 songs on side 2, War Pigs, Wicked World, and Paranoid, because they're from the first album, the first 2 albums. I don't know if, I would guess that they were all taken from the same show. Oh, I said I was going to look at that. Now they might be taken from, and I know some of these other ones, I think the last 5 songs on this release, which is side 4, which is side 2 of the second record, were taken from, there's a famous video bootleg of Black Sabbath playing at the Olympia. It's credited as being at the Olympia in Paris in 1970. Now, it is 1970, that is not up for debate, but I don't know why it got, it's been circulated widely and being credited as being in Paris. And apparently there's a country called Belgium, and it was actually taken from a show in Belgium, not Paris, but it's credited as being from Paris. Let me see what I can find out here. Or you could just go to Wikipedia. God, this print is so small. Okay, so in the okay, so it says for disc 1, which includes up to what I've talked about now, recorded live in Manchester and at the Rainbow in London, not the Rainbow Bar and Grill in Hollywood, California, but the Rainbow in London in 1973. So I was wrong about it being from the Paris/Belgium concert. That must be the second record. So okay, so these first, how many songs is that? 10? 9? First 9 songs were taken from 2 different shows in Manchester and London. And the next, I'll get to the other shows when I get to them. All right, so going to side 3, which would be record 2, side 1, the first song is Hand of Doom. I love Hand of Doom from one of my top 10 records ever, Paranoid. And this does have, it's not credited, it's not listed here, but they do play Rat Salad. You know, Rat Salad was the song after Hand of Doom on Paranoid. Instrumental, and I've told you, instrumentals are generally not my favorite, but Rat Salad is really good, which is essentially just a drum solo, but I love it. Next is Hole in the Sky. This is one that Ozzy introduces as being from the new album. He said the record was coming out soon. Actually, I'll check. So where was this one from? And the next 2 songs are also from Sabotage, which are Symptom of the Universe and Megalomania. So I assume they've got to be taken from the same show, which is, it doesn't say, it just says recorded for all of records, well, from the CD, disc 2, but on the records, side 1 and side 2 of the second record, it just says recorded live at various locations and dates during the 70s. That's a very 70s thing to say because, you know, everybody was out of their minds and so they don't know. So, but I'm going to guess that Hand of Doom, or at least Hole in the Sky, Symptom of the Universe, and Megalomania were all taken from the same show. Possibly Hand of Doom as well. Oh yeah, so Hole in the Sky, man, oh man, I love Hole in the Sky. And Pantera did a great cover of it. It's got a real swing to it, Hole in the Sky. I love that song, the first song from Sabotage. And next is Symptom of the Universe. This is, I didn't mention this. This could also be my top 5 Black Sabbath songs ever. This is maybe the origins of thrash metal. It's got a real it's not thrash metal, but you could kind of see, I mean, if you know thrash metal, you can, I think, trace it back to Symptom of the Universe. Now, what I don't like about this version, live version, and what I love, oh my God, it's such a great, I hope I talked about this when I did Sabotage last year. I love the, after the first, I don't know, the last minute or so of Symptom of the Universe, I have a hard time saying Symptom of the Universe. In the studio version, the album version from Sabotage, it's got that great, the song kind of ends and then it goes into this beautiful, amazing, real, you know, it's such a contrast that they go into this amazing kind of acoustic, really nice kind of a Latin flavor, I don't know, of Symptom of the Universe, Woman's Child of Love's Creation. That is absent from this album. I guess maybe it just didn't work live because they couldn't play it acoustically and maybe doing it electric wasn't going to sound good, or maybe it just would have killed the vibe of the show. But yeah, this is one song for sure, Symptom of the Universe, which I like the studio version better. Next is Megalomania. Great song. And this is another one that I don't know Black Sabbath doing very long. Maybe they just did it on this tour. It's a long song. I think it's 9-10 minutes. Suck me, stick me. Megalomania is a fantastic song. Can't get enough of that one. And then so side 4 is, these are all nothing from past the first 2 albums. Yeah, so I would guess these were taken from, so let's say, Hand of Doom, Hole in the Sky, Symptom of the Universe, Megalomania. Maybe those were all taken from one show. And then these next ones, Iron Man, Black Sabbath, NIB, Behind the Wall of Sleep, Fairies Wear Boots, all from the first 2 albums. I guess they were from that Paris/Belgium show. So next is Iron Man. I think, as far as I can remember, Iron Man was the first Black Sabbath song I ever heard. and I loved it. Just the "I am Iron Man," you know, that voice. I heard this on the radio and loved it. And this is the one. Yeah, this is definitely from the Paris/Belgium show, because I remember during the kick drum intro, Ozzy is because I've watched that Paris/Belgium show quite a few times, quite a number of times, and it's in that one where Ozzy says, what does he say? Let's raise the roof, or let's bring the roof down. Maybe it's Paul Stanley says, I think, that says let's bring the roof down. Maybe Ozzy says let's raise the roof or something like that. Yeah, man, Iron Man is a great song. Really, again, that's similar to War Pigs, like the definition of heavy metal. Next is Black Sabbath. I don't know if I mentioned that earlier. That's one of my very top Black Sabbath songs too. I love the kind of intro, and when they play this live, they did kind of this cool intro to it that built it up very nicely. Next is NIB. I think there was no Basically. That was another one of these Slash songs, where I think on the original Black Sabbath album, it was called Basically, double S, /NIB. NIB is a great song. Next is Behind the Wall of Sleep. This is one I never got into too much. I like it, but it was never a favorite, Behind the Wall of Sleep. And then the last song is Fairies Wear Boots. This is, I don't know if it's in my top 5 Black Sabbath songs. It might be just outside my top 5, which might be 6 or 7, somewhere around there. But Fairies Wear Boots is just, and that's, that this tells you why Paranoid is one of my favorite albums ever. I think there were like 4 songs that I listed amongst my favorites that were from Paranoid. So that's it. And this is a long album. I'm not sure how they fit it on 2 records, because I guess I listened to it today. I took a long walk today. I walked for almost 3 hours today, non-stop. I went to what I call farmland. I walked almost out of Cuernavaca. I walked really far today. I think 16 or 18 kilometers. And listened to this, and it took a long time to get through it. I guess it must be in the 2-hour range. I think records can typically only hold around 50. I think 55 minutes is pushing it. So this album, this really pushes it. And it was put out by Warner and Rhino. There you go. So as I said, this is it's not a classic one like some of the ones I'm going to talk about in the next weeks or probably months, realistically. But it is a very good one, and it's Black Sabbath, man. Come on, how can you say anything bad about Black Sabbath? And it's the very cleverly titled "Past Lives."